All right. So I was thinking that today we could talk about, in whatever shape, form, or fashion, wherever this goes, it can go. We can talk about power, love, and a sound mind. And one of the first questions that I was thinking about this morning is resistance. The definition that I was looking at for resistance is like we resist because we believe that we don't have the power to change it. That's why we resist it. And one of the ways that resistance can show up, it can show up in a lot of different ways. But one of the ways that it shows up is in procrastination. We procrastinate. So when y'all think about resistance, power, love, and sound mind, and resistance is really the contrast of that. Like, what comes to mind? Or better yet, let me ask this question. Can you identify something in your own personal lives that you are resisting because you feel like you don't have the power to change it?
That's a loaded question.
But that's what we do here, Tasha.
But I got a lot to say with that. When you said resistance, the first thing that made me think about when you was talking about the opposite, resistance equals fear. And God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind.
Right.
So when I think about myself and some of the stuff that we've already talked about, even me switching jobs after 20 years, that was resistance because that was fear of the unknown,
Right.
fear of jumping out and trying something different. But God has not given me the spirit of fear. So I had to take my power back, my power of, okay, yes, I can do this. And the spirit of love, because one of the things that my grandma always told me, she said, I try to teach my kids and my grandkids that they got to love themselves so that other people will love them. So it's almost like what you had said earlier. Once I decided to love myself more, then I could see the value in myself so that other people could see it. And it allowed me to jump out there and try something different. So
Right.
my definition of resistance is fear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
That is really
Yeah,
good.
that's real good because if God, and we know God did beyond a shadow of a doubt, not if he gave us power, love, and sound mind, he absolutely gave us a spirit of power, love, and sound mind, then we know that in that equation, fear does not exist.
Right.
And so if that is showing up in our lives, then we are not trusting something. We're not trusting. We don't believe that we have those qualities. And I think in these days and time, we have to start believing at a core level that we are powerful, we're full of love, and we are definitely women of sound minds.
Right.
We just got to start living from that place because for so long we have not. So internal resistance, where can you identify it in your life, Maya?
Speaking out, like I get afraid to talk because my words are like, I always run together. For instance, I had to do a podcast for Athens Tech. And I was afraid of it because I know how I am. I stumble over my words. So that's the kind of fear that I do deal with internal. Sometimes I shut down. And coming from places like churches and stuff, I get to be told, be quiet. So yeah, it is a fear of mine because I do know my words do
Seen and not heard.
my words do be running together. So I tend to not talk a lot.
Yeah, so what you've done is you've adopted.
Accepted it.
Yeah, you adopted somebody's. They put that on you, and then because when you hear something all the time, like what you say you were told, what did people tell you to do?
Be quiet.
Yeah, be quiet. Yeah. Until eventually you're like, okay, I'm just gonna be quiet, and can have a lot to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot to give, a lot to offer, but somebody done told you years ago to be quiet.
And a lot of times, and especially in our community, in the Black community, we have adopted a certain place of like, this is a good speaking voice. And so everybody else has this fear of, well, I better not talk because I don't talk.
That's true.
That's right.
When I have something to say too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that goes back to that fear and resistance and being seen. And I heard we've been told so long, well, if you don't say it like this person, then it's not valuable.
Right, that's right.
But she has a lot to offer beyond whether her words run together, they coming out. And we can still hear them, so who cares?
Yeah, that's right.
Who cares if they run together if they don't?
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And then to what you said, in speaking properly sometimes, it's intimidating as well because the first thing they're going to say to you, oh, you sound like a white girl. Yeah. Oh, you don't talk like that. You from Hartwell. I've traveled all around the world. Yeah. So this voice is not, it's authentic. You know, it's like, and being in those positions, I had to speak properly. And then you come back here and it's almost like you have to revert to how you once were, depending on the audience. So
I know in my case, like I have several degrees, but this is what you gonna get. You know what I mean? This is my, you know, and I always say I to this day, I still have a hard time with verbs conjugating, but that don't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, I think what's most important is the message.
The message,
you know what I mean?
Right.
The message, the message. Don't get distracted by how I sound or what you think I should sound like.
That's
you just
good.
make sure you get that message.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? You make sure you get that message.
That's right.
So that's one thing for sure that I know I'm gonna bring to the table. It's gonna be a message. Yeah, so don't get distracted by my izzles and dazzles and all that stuff. I'm telling you.
It all depends on the individual
Yeah.
what your intentions are.
Yeah.
You know, you can reach the multitudes being who you are.
Yeah, that's right. And really, that's the best way to be.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
That is. And you don't have to give people a generic version of yourself. I can talk to you just like this and we hear.
Yeah, that's right. That's
You
right.
understand? It shouldn't.
Yeah, we get so distracted so easily by nonsense. You know what I mean? And I think that we do that because we don't want to. We are afraid. We are afraid to see what's really going on inside of us. Because the fact of the matter is, can you identify the things that hold you back? You know what I mean? And that has nothing to do with anybody else. Do you have the capacity to see where you yourself can improve and become a better person?
Right.
Can you identify your fears? You know what I mean? Can you pinpoint that? Because once you can do that, that thing will no longer enslave you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
That's
no longer
true.
can enslave you once you can put your finger on it.
Yeah.
But we get distracted by so much. Oh, did you see that dress she had on? Oh, who did her hair? All that nonsense.
Why do women tear each other apart like that? What is it in someone else that they got to depict every single flaw about me so that they remain relevant in their lives? Like I get a lot of times working, you know, with people, it's like, oh, I didn't expect you to act like that. What did you expect? Oh, I didn't know you were this down to earth. What would make you assume otherwise? You've never had a conversation with me.
Right.
But they heard about you.
But they heard about you before they see you. So now you have that perception of me knowing nothing about me.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, you're really nice. You're down to earth. But a lot of times too in our communities, we'll get to a certain place in life and we forget everything that brought us there. And that's why, you know, like when even making the decision to move back to Hartwell and people were like, why would you come back here? There's nothing in Hartwell. You haven't opened your eyes.
Right.
There's abundance in Hartwell. And I speak on that and I say that often because that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. There's no place like home. I could be totally me. But I can say in all of my traveling, home is the toughest place to reach people because they're looking for the bad.
And they think they know you.
Yeah, I was about to say they think they know you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I think women do it because of just, Just straight up self-hatred.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
it's a
telling you.
deflection.
Yeah.
Let me get the focus off me.
Me,
So,
so
let
that-
me talk about you.
Yeah,
Turn
that's
on
right.
you.
Right. Because I'm telling you, we are afraid to identify what our own needs are.
Right.
What we might, areas that we can improve. We don't want to do that work, but that's where you got to do the work. You got to do that work. It is the toughest work, but it's really where you're going to get your best results. Like I don't have time to focus on Shalisha. You know what I mean?
I think that in itself is the toughest work for a woman, is to learn how to love who you are.
You are, yes.
Nothing else. Like internally, going back to the first question then, yeah, that would be my biggest internal struggle, is genuinely just loving who I am. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to be like nobody else.
That's right.
But just embracing who I am, you know, because I've had so many times where I'm like, I hate that I'm this quiet in certain situations, and then in some situations I talk constantly. But then I'm learning to embrace that. That's just who I am. I don't warm up easily in every situation.
Yeah, that's right.
Some I do and some I don't. It's nothing against anybody else. It's just how God made me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I used to struggle with getting really, really animated, and this is true honesty. I would struggle with getting really, really animated when I talk about Christ, because I didn't want people to think I was churchy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want people to think that I thought I was better than them, or that I was, you know, a holy roller or anything. But that's who I am. That's internally who God made me. So now I'm learning to just love that person, and also still love that fun-loving person, and being okay with not being okay all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like that's the internal struggle for us.
And you said something that's interesting. I wonder why there has to be a separation of our spirituality and fun.
But I think that's what a lot of older traditional people have made it so serious that when the newer generation, as myself, I have fun and I'm a woman of God, and they don't know, like in the church they don't teach that. Like we still have fun. We cut up. We do stuff. Like it seems like they think their life have to stop, you know, but it don't. And I think that it is their change. Like they're changing it in the church where it's all about church, and nothing is wrong with being a holy roller, because that's who God is. So we are holy. So you are holy. I am. That's who God is. So I am. So I think they're missing up with relationship and religion. They're not teaching relationship. They're teaching religion. So it's pushing the younger generation away, because they don't want religion.
No, they want
They
relationship.
want relationship, and that's what it's all about. But that's where we come in to show them the relationship. We still have fun,
Right.
you know, and it's not all about being serious and you know,
Stiff.
and
Yeah.
and just hard,
Yeah.
hard. No grace, no love, and just no like they always have been saved. You had a life before salvation.
Thank you. We just talked about
You know,
it.
and so and that people forget who Jesus hung with. He didn't he didn't hang with the church, the churchy people. He hung with people who were drinking or smoking. I'm sure having whatever they're doing. He hung with those people, so he can win them over. And so we don't look like the church no more.
We don't.
We don't look like the church no more.
Thank God.
You know, and so it's getting hard for these younger people. It's getting hard for them.
Yeah.
But we're going to be the ones to break it for them.
We
like
are
you
gonna be
said,
the ones.
We're going to be the face and the hands and the feet
Yes.
of Jesus. But the people that you can see, we having fun. Y'all turn on the music, we dancing too. But if you come and say, hey, will you pray for me? I can do that too.
I can do that too.
But see,
yes.
and you know, and what's interesting is, like, it's not religion, it's relationship, because relationship brings joy.
Joy.
And joy to me is
That's
happiness
good.
for no reason.
That's
You know what I mean?
Nothing's happening.
Remember on the video when Trey was like, "Look at all that joy she has." Remember that? Like I'm just like, cause I was just having a good time. You know, just having a good time.
That's good.
With myself and the experience that I was having in that moment. Just joy, period. Because that's what a relationship
Right.
should bring joy out of us.
Because you're living on purpose.
You know,
Right.
and so it you know, it should just be joy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like for no reason.
You know, traditionally, we'll attend a church our entire life because our family went to this church. Now you leaving this church, yes, Sunday after Sunday, and spiritually you're drained, you're empty, like you hadn't received anything.
Right.
Because we're looking for God to be in that atmosphere, in those four walls, when really God is on the inside of you. And when you begin to realize that you carry God everywhere you go, you're going to make a difference in people's lives everywhere you go. You know, sometimes we get in that church setting and we're so holy that we're ridiculing everything everyone is doing outside of those walls. Oh, she's in sin. This is whoredom here, or she's a whore. But what have you done to lift that young girl up? Maybe she was molested, so her body parts is all she knows. But we done tore her down so much, now she addicted to this, or she's addicted to that, and we
then
can't
she
get
hate
that
the church.
church.
Yeah.
She hates it.
She hates the church. So anything about Jesus Christ, she's gonna automatically shut down because she's gonna relate it to what they done to her.
Right.
That church hurt
and,
is real.
and rightfully so, because the people in the church supposed to represent Christ, and this is, you know, and this is how they showing up. So I can't love that,
Right.
Because it doesn't love me,
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't love me, so I can't love that. I'm not going there. That's not what I'm gonna do.
Or you know, with the leadership is saying this, but they're doing everything under the sun. So how can I look up to you for morals and values and that spiritual obligation when you're not living it?
Right.
And you just have to know that God is God and he will love you no matter what your flaws may be. Each and every day that you fall down on your knees and ask for forgiveness, he gonna forgive you over and over. It is people that keep you from God.
But that's why God is pushing people away from the church. This is not a people thing. You know, people are saying, well, it's the pandemic and people not coming back. This is a God thing.
I'm telling you.
God
I'm telling
is
you.
pulling people out of the building because he said that's not never what I intended either.
That's right.
That's
That's
not
good,
what I
Tasha.
intended church to be.
Yeah, that's good.
And so God is pulling people out of the building. And I don't know if anybody else see it, but it's almost like a great awakening right now. People
You're
are
right.
realizing that, wait a minute, I can impact more people. Do you know how many more people you would impact with that video of you and your joy
Yeah.
than you going to a church and nobody even knew you were there?
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
That's
That's ministry.
real good. That's real good.
That's real ministry. Real.
Sitting on a pew, silent.
Yeah.
Right.
You got the scripture, and you'll never go back and read it again.
And don't nobody know God in that church but the preacher.
And he
That makes
interpret it any way he wants.
And you better not question it.
Right.
Man,
That part.
come on. Yeah. That's
So,
not for me.
When you're coming up with like this generation who is so innovative and just have their own minds, you have to wonder, why are they seeking out worshiping crystals? You know what I'm saying? Worshiping their ancestors. And we have a church on every corner in America. Why are they seeking these things?
Because church
'Cause
as
what
it
they
is
had
not
ain't
enough.
working.
It
It's
ain't
not
working.
working.
Church as it is traditionally is not working. It's just not working.
It's not.
It's not causing people to get in relationship with self. With God and self. It's not. And when that doesn't happen, then the lives of the people are not changing.
Right.
You know, their behavior is the same. They're getting the same old results, and people are tired and they frustrated, and they keep getting the same old thing. So they looking for something that will
different.
work.
And they didn't realize that it wasn't working until the pandemic. I'm telling you, the pandemic is straight from God because it allowed us to be still. And people realized two things. One, they were still enough to realize that what they were getting wasn't getting them nowhere.
That's right.
And two, a lot of people realized, wait a minute, I've been stuck at home for 4 months and I still experience God. I still feel God. And I ain't stepped foot in nobody's church
Girl,
building.
you better hush your mouth.
I'm telling you, the pandemic was sent straight from God to get Christians on the right track because he's on his way back, so he didn't have no other choice. But to send something that would actually make people stop and get it together.
And
because
realize.
we were moving so fast, we thought we were doing something, and we was really just like running on a treadmill. We weren't going nowhere.
Nowhere.
but it had became entertainment. We're going to the singings, we're listening to them saying, oh, she referenced everything but a scripture in the Bible, but she just gave the best message. What was her message?
Nobody remembers. By the time you get home, all the thing on your mind is the food. You don't even remember what the sermon was about. But we're going in Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And another thing, and I know I keep going back to the pandemic, but the pandemic taught me a lot. Another thing that it brought out was people leaving this world. And when you get people unexpectedly leaving all the time, then you realize you don't have time to waste time. This is 52 Sundays out of a year that I've wasted and got nothing out of it.
Why am I here?
Why am I here? That's 52 days that I can't get back.
Yeah.
When I could be doing, I heard a pastor say last week, he said in the last 5 months, we've impacted more people by changing the way we do ministry than we have in the last 5 years because we stopped doing it the old way.
Wow.
We stopped doing it the old way and we started embracing different ideas. And I have seen God move. I have seen relationship.
Yeah, right. That's what it is. It's relationship. And I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier, like, you know, like the primary relationship that we have that's critical is the relationship that we have with ourselves. You know, like what are we thinking? You know, what do we tell ourselves on a daily basis? Because as quietly as that's kept, like those are seeds we're planting. And that thing, what we say to ourselves, that's what show up in our life. It shows up in our life because we have created it through the things that we say.
Yes.
You know, and when we speak out of alignment with God, then it's really almost like we're cursing ourselves.
We are.
We're cursing ourselves.
Life and death.
That's what's happening.
That's one thing that the New Age people had over us, but really God started it first, and that's affirmations. If you don't affirm something in yourself, then you'll accept anything. You know, if you can't get up in the morning and say, yeah, I am fearfully, wonderfully made. This is going to be a great day. Then you're allowing the enemy to throw anything your way. But if you get up and say affirmations in the morning of how your day is going to be, then you're going to find your day being that way. And that's for real.
And that's something I commend the younger generation on. You know, like when we were growing up, when an adult told you to do something, you did it. There were no questions.
Right.
Now they want to know why. Why you want me to do this? It's not a negative thing because they're setting those boundaries that we weren't allowed to have. You're telling me to go do this, but why?
Which to me, why is the only question. You know what I mean? Like, why?
Why do I need to do this way?
Right.
You know?
And it's a fair question. Like, it's a fair question because then you can get a better understanding and, you know, you'll just have a little more insight. And then from there, you can make the next decisions that you need to make. Yeah. So it's fair.
It's a fair question.
So I have another question. So since the last time we met, I think it was June? Yeah. So what has been a big lesson for you that you've learned since the last time we met? That was an eye opener for you that brought some awareness to you about you or in reference to yourself.
One of my biggest, I think, is in this season, I've learned to keep everything to myself. When it comes to decision making, it's like, it's personal. It's me and God. And then once God allows me to put it out in the atmosphere, it comes out. But everything else is personal. Because in Habakkuk 2:2, he told me to write the vision down and make it plain. So until it's plain and you see it in action, you're not gonna know I'm doing it.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think that's real good because if we present it too soon and it's already an idea that we trying to marry, that we trying to stabilize within ourselves, somebody gonna throw their negativity on it. And now you scared. You know, you back to fear again. So you gotta, right, because I'm telling you, and this is what we gotta get. people can only give to you what they have inside of themselves. So if they're a fearful person, you got a new idea that you trying to stabilize with, that's scary to you too, you don't need to tell them people. You don't, because they just gonna give you their own fear. And so now you scared again. So you got, I think timing and being real careful about who we share what with is important.
Telling you,
I think it's wise.
That's so important. That's just like when I decided not to go to work again, or when we decided to get married, how those people saying, wait, or what about this? What about this? If I didn't know, if I wasn't sure of myself and the decision I was making, I could have easily backed up and said, wait, maybe I should have worked 6 more months, and then become 6 more months. And then maybe we should wait to get married. And we wait, and we slipping up before you know it, pregnant before married. You know what I'm saying?
And then it's your timing and not God's.
Exactly. So it's best to keep it to yourself and to write that vision, like you said, make it plain, and when it's time to reveal it,
let it out.
Yeah, I think we look for affirmation from men. And that's why we go telling this person, that person. But you gotta be sure about it with you and God.
Right.
Nobody, what Tasha think, what Kim think, or whoever think. I don't.
Because we're telling it, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like we're also seeking approval.
That's right. That's what we're doing.
I know
Please
that.
tell me that my decision is right. Please affirm me.
Give me the direction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot of people now, they want that affirmation.
Yeah,
they want
do.
that pat on the back or that assurance from somebody they can visibly see instead of doing the work and hearing from God themselves.
That's right. That's right.
People, they don't want to do that work. They don't want to
Because I'm telling you, people are spiritually lazy. They really are.
Yes.
People are spiritually lazy. I mean, and the only way you can develop that, your faith is that you got to step out on it. That's the only way. And I tell this to my daughter all the time. I always like the analogy of working out. Like when you first go in that gym, those muscles are weak, but you can't not go back because the muscle is weak.
Right.
The only way that muscle is going to get stronger, you got to show up. You got to go back. You got to go back.
So
That's
good.
over again. Yeah. We think when we do it one time and it fails, like, oh, that's the end of it. We're never going to do it again. I remember like when I first went into the military and I was running the 2-mile run. It was so funny now that I think back on it. And it's like 16 laps on a track over and over again. And it seemed like each lap was just getting unbearable. And I remember like I intentionally fell on that track and one of the drill sergeants was like, you better get up. You better get up. You better keep going. And just to do it all over again, to see it from start to finish. Because if I had given up too soon, that was a whole career gone. But it's the perseverance to keep going even when you don't feel like it.
Right. And the thing about it is, like, if it's a direction that your life is supposed to go, and you have been guided it that way, and God is leading you that way, like you don't have no choice but to keep going back.
Yeah, but people don't realize that there's going to be resistance in going the right way because there's a real enemy out there that's trying to distract us.
Yes.
And what people don't realize, like you said, with working out, there's going to be pain.
It's going to be pain.
People think it's supposed to be easy and smooth and don't have to face no challenges or whatever. If it's like that, I don't want it. Right. If it's easy, I don't want it.
And see, that's why. And see, that's why I say people we get lazy because we don't want the struggle.
We don't want the discomfort. That's the word.
But the thing about it is, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be, but that doesn't mean you're not on the right track.
It's right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that. I think about anybody here Golden State Warriors fans.
Yes.
I know I am, and particularly Steph Curry. I remember watching the series this time, and I've always watched when they went to the when they go into the championship. And I remember when I first started paying attention to Steph Curry, the player. And they were in the finals, and I remember he was so inconsistent. God, I'm about to shout thinking about it. He was so inconsistent. Like, he was good, but his balls wouldn't always go in, right? And so I started watching the series. So it's been some years. He's been training for some years now. And so I remember watching it this time, and I remember thinking, man, he gonna be inconsistent. But that joker was not. He was more consistent than he was when I first started watching him. And that's because he kept training. He kept training. He kept shooting. Even when he was missing, he kept shooting. He kept shooting.
He trusts the process.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of times what we do is, because we always expecting the ball to go in, is that when it don't go in, we stop shooting.
That's
but
good.
the thing that has made him the player that he is today, and the same rule apply. I mean, he is just showing up in basketball, but this is a life principle.
Yes.
Is that we just stay with it.
Yes.
We stay shooting.
Right.
Even when, because what we do, and we got to be real careful of this, and I'm sorry if I'm getting excited, but what we do is that we'll miss a shot, and then we'll call ourselves a name that's not true.
That's
You know what I mean?
good.
Because that's what we do. We'll say, I shot the ball and I missed it, so I'm a loser. You know what I mean? But even winners miss a shot.
Right.
So we just got to make sure that when we do miss a shot, we don't call ourselves something that's not true. Because then we'll start believing it, and then we back to square one again.